Okay, hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So we'll continue on our lecture, chapter 11, transport in vascular plants. Okay, from the word vascular plant, it means that group of plant they are having xylem and phloem. That's why we call them as vascular plants. So this is the learning outcome for subchapter number 1, which is you must know the uptake and transport of water and minerals and the uptake and transport of organic substance in plants. Okay, explain how the water and solids are taken by individual cells, and also explain the short distance transport of solids and water between the cells and also to vascular tissues. Okay, vascular tissue referring to the xylem and phloem. For the introduction, the physical forces that drive the transport of materials in plants over a range of distance. So the process involved in three. First one, to transport of water and solute by individual cell, such as the root hair here. And then the second is short distance transport, which is from cell to cell at the level of tissue and organ, okay, between tissue and the organs. And the last is the long distance transport, which is involve the xylem and phloem at the level of the whole plant, meaning this xylem and phloem will carry all the water and also the nutrients throughout the whole plant. So there are three types of transportation in plant. The first one, individual cell. The second is short distance transport, and the last is the long distance transport. So this is the overview. Okay, the first one is cell to cell from roots. So roots absorb water and dissolve minerals from the soil. So these water and minerals are transported upward from the roots to shoots as xylem sap. So the water is in the form of xylem sap. Alright, the transpiration. Okay, so transpiration is the process of losing water from the leaf. Normally, this process is happen through the stomata underneath the leaf, or also in the lenticel, which is located on the surface of the stem. Okay, but mostly through the stomata. So this transpiration process will create a force within the leaf that pulls the xylem sap upward. So when the water start releasing outside, okay, to the environment, so it causes the forces from below, so that the water will be carried upward, okay, due to the transpiration pull. Later we will discuss detail in transpiration pull. The 4 is through stomata, the leaf take carbon dioxide and expel oxygen. The carbon dioxide provide carbon for photosynthesis. Some oxygen produced by photosynthesis is used in cellular respiration. So this is involving the photosynthesis process and also cellular respiration by the plants. And then the sugars, which is produced from the photosynthesis, okay, is concentrated in the leaf. The sugars then transported via the phloem in the form of phloem sap to the roots and other parts of the plant. Normally, the part of the plant that need the phloem sap is the developing part, like fruits, okay, and other part that needs the nutrients. And the last is root exchange gases with the air spaces of soil. Okay, root in between root with the soil, taking in oxygen and discharge carbon dioxide. In cellular respiration, oxygen support the breakdown of sugars. So please remember, in a vascular plant, their transportation not only involve the photosynthesis that cause the transpiration pool, but they also needs the oxygen, needs the gases for the process of cellular respiration. So this again, the three level of transport, the uptake of water and solids by the individual cells. This is referring to the root cells. And the short distance transport of solids and water from cell to cell at the level of tissues and organ. And the last is long distance transport, which involve the xylem and phloem. Okay, now we go into details. The first step, okay, the uptake of water and solids by individual cell. So this process is involving, the first one is passive transport, where the molecules tend to move down their concentration gradient from high concentration to the lower concentration. So in passive transport, no ATP is needed. Okay, so the molecules can pass through the plasma membrane. The second is biactive transport, where the solids are pumped across the membranes against their gradients. When it is against their gradients, mean they need some help to do this. Okay, so the cell must expend metabolic energy. Okay, in terms of energy, they have to spend since they are against the gradient. Okay, so they usually need the supply of ATP to transport solids uphill. Okay, so uphill meaning which is contra to the gradient from the low concentration to the high concentration. So that is the meaning by uphill, against the gradient. So this active transport are a special class of membrane protein which is responsible for pumping specific solids. So in active transport, we need some helper. Okay, normally the helper is proteins, which is responsible to help to pump the solids. Okay, so this is about the ATP, dependent proton pumps. Okay, normally used to pump H plus out of cell. Okay, so H plus is the function to control the pH. Okay, the pH inside the cell. So this pump contribute to membrane potential and establishment of pH gradient across the membrane. So H plus in the form of ion. Okay, since it is ions, it is polar. Okay, so all polar molecules cannot pass through the plasma membrane easily. They need some help. Normally, they need a protein channel. Okay, so this protein channel is needed by the H plus to be transferred either from inside of the cell to the outside or even from outside to the inside. So in a mechanism that called co-transport, okay, co-transport, co meaning together. A transport protein couple the passage of one solid to the passage of another, meaning one protein transport, okay, they just carry not only one type of solid, but more than one type of solid. For example, in the image here, this protein channel, it does not carry H plus, but it also carry the nitrate ion. Okay, so the cell accumulate an ion, for example, by coupling their transport to the inward diffusion of H plus through a co-transporter. So that is the meaning by co-transport. Okay, they couple the passage of one solid to the passage of another. Okay, now we go into the roots. Okay, how roots absorb water and minerals from the soil. So the water move, okay, by enter the plant through the epidermis of root, okay, and ultimately flow to the shoot system. So this is the movement of water from the root to the shoot. Okay. Okay, now we go to the second level or second type of transport, the short distance transport, which involve with the tissue and organs in plant. So this process happen across the plasma membrane through the cell wall. So there are apoplastic root and symplastic root. Okay, what is apoplastic root? This is a root where the water move along the cell walls and extracellular spaces, which they are not entering the cell. Okay, remember this, the water not entering the cell. The water just move along the cell wall and the extracellular spaces. So that is the apoplastic root. The second is symplastic root, where the water move along the cytosol and from cell to cell via the plasmodesmata. So this is the image of apoplastic root, where the water move through the cell wall. Okay, and also intercellular spaces, which the water doesn't go through inside of the cell. Okay, for symplastic route, the water move along the cytosol, which is inside the cell. Okay, the water go from one cell to one cell, okay, via the plasmodesmata. So this is the plasmodesmata. Okay, the apoplast and symplast transport continue. Okay, two major compartments in plant tissues, the apoplast and the symplast. Okay, the apoplast is everything that external to the plasma membrane of living cells. This includes cell wall, extracellular spaces, the dead cells such as vessel element and tracheids. So that is the apoplast. The symplast consists of the entire mass of cytosol of living cells in a plant, including the plasmodesmata. So you must remember these two terms. Okay, what is apoplast and what is symplast, you must have clear on that particular thing. Okay, so water and mineral from soil, okay, will be passed through the root. Okay, then the root will carry the water to enter the xylem. Later, xylem will carry the water and transport them to the whole plant. Now we go into the endodermis. Endodermis is the innermost layer of cells. Okay, so it can be found in many type of cells, including the root. So this endodermis, it surrounds the vascular cylinder. Remember, vascular referring to the xylem and phloem. Okay, so this endodermis, it surrounds the vascular cylinder and they function as the last checkpoint. Okay, endodermis is the innermost layer, so it is the last checkpoint before it reaches its target. Okay, the last checkpoint for the selective passage of minerals from the cortex into the vascular tissue. So the water can cross the cortex. Okay, so when it is related to cortex, you must know the location of the cortex. Normally cortex is located inside of the cell. Okay, this is the epidermis. Okay, and then the endodermis, the innermost, okay, layer, and the cortex. Okay, so this is the cortex. So water can cross the cortex either via symplast or apoplastic route. Okay, remember what is symplast, what is apoplast. Okay, so minerals including water already in the symplast. Okay, mineral already in the symplast, when they reach endodermis, can continue to pass into the vascular cylinder. Okay, so minerals that reach endodermis via the apoplast will be blocked by the waxy Casparian strip. If you see the apoplast root here, okay, so this is the minerals and water taken through the apoplastic root. Okay, so when these minerals and water want to enter to the endodermis layer, okay, of plant, okay, before it reach to the still is the vascular cylinder, so they must enter the endodermis first. So inside, okay, in the part of endodermis, there is a one layer which is known as Casparian strip. Okay, so this layer will inhibit anything to pass through except for anything that use the symplastic route. Okay, now the material that inside apoplastic root cannot enter the endodermis due to the presence of Casparian strip here. So what the plant do is, anything that go, okay, previously using apoplastic root will transfer using symplastic root. Okay, they will exchange their channel. They go inside the endodermis via the symplastic route. So the material, all the material can be inserted or can be transferred into the endodermis layer. So that is the meaning by this statement. So okay, so they cannot pass through the Casparian strip. Okay, so they will force water and mineral that are passively moving through the apoplast to cross the plasma membrane of the endodermal cell and enter via the symplast, by the symplastic route. Okay, so this is another view, okay, or description on the lateral transport of minerals and water. We have apoplastic route, we have symplastic route, we have another transmembrane route. Okay, And what is a transmembrane route? As soil solution move along the apoplast, okay, remember the apoplast, some water and minerals are transported into the protoplast of cell of the epidermis and cortex and then move inward via the symplast. So protoplast referring to the all content, okay, all content in cells, okay. All content in cells we call as protoplast. So that is a transmembrane route, meaning using this transmembrane route, the solution, the minerals and water can pass throughout the plant. Okay, within the transverse and radial wall of each endodermal cells in the casparin strip, a belt of waxy material, the purple band, okay, that blocks the passage of water and dissolved minerals. Only minerals already in the symplast or entering the pathway by crossing the plasma membrane of an endodermal cell can detour around the casparin strip and pass into the vascular cylinder. So this is the explanation, okay, on previous, okay. So this statement, these 5 descriptions, you can read by yourself, okay. Try to understand by looking at the image on the right side.